Hey there and welcome to the More Cashflow podcast. Now, this is a very special thing that I'm doing in this channel, which is a podcast that's going to teach you how to increase your cash flow. Whether you own a business or you're just a person trying to make more money, this podcast is going to be all about cash flow. And you are probably wondering, why is this dude talking about cash flow and talking about $100,000 when he definitely looks like, at least by the way he speaks, looks like a guy that does not have $100,000. Well, let me explain. I'm actually Portuguese, and so my thick, very weird accent and my weird way of speaking is actually due to and thanks to my origin. And so if you feel weirded out by any chance by the way I speak, congratulations, you are racist. I'm just kidding. Obviously, you are not. I'm obviously trying to improve at it, and that's why this podcast is actually done in English, while all the content on this channel was done in Portuguese. I'm trying to make improvements on both my English capabilities in terms of explaining and also my capabilities in terms of explaining overall. And so today I'm going to try to explain you how and why you should, how best to invest $100,000. Another thing I'm going to add is that this podcast is going to be recorded just the way it was recorded, it's the way it's going to be published. So there's going to be no cuts, no trying to hide my sneezing. There's no censorship. You're going to see how it rolls, and we're going to roll with it. And if it's good, it's good. If it's not, well, I wish it was. So let's start off by how to really invest $100,000. Now, the reason I'm actually doing this episode, and specifically this number, and specifically at this time, is because recently, and when I say recently, I mean earlier last month, I opened a $100,000 position in oil. That's very specific, and I'm not telling you to buy oil, but I want to guide you and walk you through the steps and the logic process that I go through every time I'm going to make an investment. Now, just to be clear, obviously you should not put all your eggs in one basket. And so when I say investing $100,000, I really mean opening a position of $100,000, how to make the best possible investment with a large amount of capital. But you should not, and I'm not talking about diversification, I'm just talking about like very basic misconceptions of should I go all in on a certain thing. I do not believe it's wise to go all in on a certain thing. Even Warren Buffett, when he was fully sure that Apple was the way to go, he only put 50%, I'm saying only, it goes, only put 50% of Berkshire's total assets on the company. So obviously you should not go all in on an idea because it is really, really great. But when you're opening a really big position, you should definitely take into account all the stuff that I'm going to walk you through. And so I'm going to walk you through some of my investing rules. Now, just to be clear, I did not make my money investing. I've made, and to be perfectly clear, I am not a millionaire. I am close to it, and that's something I'm really happy about. And amazingly, because I'm doing this video in English now, I don't think that's actually something very surprising. Here in the English internet, everybody's a millionaire, so everybody is a millionaire now. Like, it's not even cool to be a millionaire, it's cool to be a billionaire. So I mean, there's no surprises here. Back when I was only doing videos in Portuguese, like, I don't think that was something that was very common, and so people were obviously a bit suspicious. But no worries, because I'm actually gonna show you proof. I did not plan on doing this, but since I'm already talking about is it legit or not, is Thomas a scam or not, am I a fraud or not, let me just show you the position I'm actually talking about. Let's see if I got it here. It's actually, I was not planning on doing this, but just so there's no suspicions about Thomas, let me show you this beautiful position. So this was an investment in Chevron. Let me see if I can pull it up just so you can see. So here it is. I got $100,000 in Chevron. It's actually weird to show this kind of stuff. It's obviously not all my money, and that's why I'm saying it to you. Like, even if you come to a really good conclusion, I'm not sure you can actually see. You probably can. Maybe it's fake. Either way, what I'm trying to say here, like, even if you are fully confident of the position, avoid putting over 50% of your capital. And that's not a golden rule, but it's a good rule of thumb to avoid to put over 50% of your capital on a specific position, just because if you do that, you might run the risk of actually going, unforeseeable events sometimes happen, which is the whole point of being unforeseeable. You can't really see them. For example, a global pandemic, some kind of shortage that nobody was expecting, a thunderstorm, a freaking earthquake, like this kind of stuff in certain places is not really predictable. And so sometimes we don't even think about the possible downside of a big position, even if all the upside is going for it. And so it's good to not put all the eggs in one basket per se, even though you should really have most of the eggs in very few baskets. That's really my approach to investing, and it's worked well for me. It's also my approach in business, and so far I've been doing good. I'm 22 years old. I'm on the at least top 1%, if not top 1% in my country, top 0.1% in my country in terms of net worth and in terms of monthly cash flow, which is what I'm all about in this podcast. And so that's what I'm trying to give to you. It's the gift of having quite a lot of money without quite a lot of risk, even though obviously when we're talking about investing, there's always some risk involved. So let's stop talking and get into the rules. So first rule, and this is probably like the golden rule, if not the golden rule, one of the golden rules, which is that if it doesn't cash flow, you say no. And that's a very uncommon and uncool way of doing investment right now. I've seen it in the Bitcoins, magic internet money. We've seen it in the startups that are going to grow forever, and we've seen it on all the cool business opportunities right now. Nothing produces cash flow. You know, art is beautiful, although it doesn't produce cash flow. You're gonna get rich of it. I mean, you buy a beautiful Bitcoin and you're gonna get rich of it, even though it doesn't produce anything. I mean, that's just crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And so my first rule of investing, and this is a rule we should really apply. I'm not gonna give you a specific asset. I mean, if you want to replicate me, I mean, this was launched on, I'm hoping I'm launching this on October. I'm launching this on October. So I opened this position 2 months ago. It's really recent. The pricing has not changed a lot. Actually, it went up 10%, which kind of proves my investing may be sound, but I'm not telling you to do what I did. If you want, I'm not the guy that says, oh no, you gotta buy my course and shit for me to show you my positions. No, yeah, this is not financial advice. You should probably not just replicate what I did without understanding what I did. But if you want to just go the lazy way and do what I did, buy oil, just buy oil, and you'll probably be fine. I mean, hopefully you'll be fine. I hope you'll be fine. I'm quite partial. I'm quite biased on that, but hopefully I believe you'll be fine, and I hope you will be fine if you do invest a lot of money online. But if you actually want to come up with your own investment thesis and you want to conclude what is the best way to invest whatever money you have available, whether it's 100,000 or more, you should really consider these factors that I'm giving. The second rule of investing $100,000 is do not invest if you don't have at least $100,000. Now, this might piss some people off because you're watching this and you're probably wondering, what will I do with 100,000? But you're probably going to try to replicate what I'm saying here with less. Do not try to invest with less than $100,000. If you do not have $100,000, you are basically broke. And now I just offended 90% of the human population. But I'm sorry, you are. If a lawsuit comes your way, if a car crash comes your way, if a big expense comes your way, you are out of money. And even if you have over $100,000, chances are one of these three expenses I just mentioned would probably almost wipe you out. And so you do not have enough money to start looking at investments and magical internet money and all that crap. You should be working hard on increasing your cash flow, on increasing your business productivity or your value in the marketplace, so that you can get rewarded in a way that gives you enough cash flow monthly to actually start putting sizable amounts of money aside, so that you can invest a lot of money. That's the way you actually can invest money in a way that is significant to your future. Because if you are investing small amounts of money, even if you are a miraculous investor, you're still gonna have a really slow return on capital. And so it's really important for you to make sure the positions you are building are really significant for your current situation and for the value you could have on the marketplace. Because if you are making less than $5,000, $4,000, $6,000 a month, or euros or whatever, then you are not maximizing your value on the marketplace. And if you're telling me, by the way, I hate victims and I hate quitters, so if you're telling me, oh no, but you don't understand, it's so hard, everything is hard, I mean, I get it, everything is hard. Just to be clear, I did not come from a silver spoon. Like, I am the most, I have a friend of mine in Portugal that usually calls himself a savage with money, and I quite relate to that. I'm pretty much a savage with money. I started with no money. I just got on a plane, started knocking on doors with a $20 suit, looked exactly like this, a shitty laptop, and $200 shitty laptop, broken, and on the inside and partly on the outside, and I still made it work. And right now I have a company that it's not something I usually public share, so I'm not gonna share the revenues publicly, but they're in the six figures. And if you don't believe me, well, you saw the investment I made two months ago, and I'm saying that's a lot. Like, that is not a lot. Like, I've got there's a company right above the office I'm recording this video in. This company above me makes 300 million euros a year. All right, 300 million. So yeah, this is not a lot, but it's good enough for me to actually know what I'm talking about when I record this kind of video. And so that's the second rule. I believe I was still on the second rule, which is that if you do not have $100,000, then you should not be investing in anything really. You just should be increasing your earning potential so that you can start accumulating this kind of money before you start to investing, instead of distributing your attention for between multiple things and they end up not really doing each or any of them well. Now, golden rule aside, let's see some other good rules. So good rules for investing $100,000 or more money, or whatever money you consider sizable and relevant to your current position, is to follow the rule. Well, that doesn't really well name. I was trying to make up a name, but the rule is very basic and very logical, which is that make sure the investment you're doing is an investment somebody smarter than you and with more money than you is also making or has also made in the past. So, for example, have smarter people than me invested in buying water production facility? Well, maybe yes. And if so, who did it? And why did they do it? Try to understand that. If they did it, and it worked out, chances are you can replicate it. At the same time, if you see people around you doing stuff with their money, and it doesn't seem to work out, even if the thesis makes sense, even if the prospectus per se makes sense, then maybe, just maybe, it's not a good idea. And so the way I structure my investments, and I can tell you even like all about the oil investment I made recently, was very methodical and was very logical, which was that a lot of people believe, in this case I mean the European Union, and there's a big energy crisis going on right now. And I got in on this investment before the oil crisis really blew up. The reason for it is because I was watching what other more successful investors than me were doing. And when I say more successful investors, I don't mean Uncle Joey, who's doing 300k a year. I mean actual very astute investors from usually America, because America is really the place where everything that's sizable and very cunning in terms of finances really comes from. So I was watching Ray Dalio, I was watching Warren Buffett, I was watching the big players, and they were getting in on oil and energy. And so it makes sense. And then I formed my thesis on what will be the best company, which is also what I said before. If it doesn't cash flow, you say no. And if it's got a lot of cash flow, you say yes. Because cash flow is the root of all good. It's the greatest thing on earth. It is the reason why we get up in the morning, to produce more goods, to get more cash flow. So if cash flow is the goal in life, then buying companies with cash flow is the way to achieve whatever you want in life. And so, this is going really well. I mean, every 5 minutes I basically drop a good tip. So if you watch for 50 straight minutes, you get about 10 tips. It's still worth it. Yeah, isn't it? And so that's another rule for investing. Try to choose really a tip, not a rule. I'm done with rules. It's just a tip, It's not. I don't give financial advice. These are just random tips from a random dude at 1 a.m. in a Friday on his office, just buying random stuff. And apparently he's got some money. Some crazy dude, probably inherited from somebody. I mean, it's all, everybody's a scam now, so I'm probably a scam as well. At least if I'm a scam, I'm the biggest scammer. Yeah, dang it. I mean, I'm not sure this is gonna fly well with my brand, but I'm just gonna roll with it. So, more tips about investing. And by the way, if I'm fraud, I mean, you gotta explain how the company I built grew almost 100% year over year for the last 3 years, and it's still growing, and it's now operating in 3 cities, in 3 countries. These are the capital cities of these three countries. No, not actually the capital cities of the three countries. The middle one is the real capital, but it's not really the official capital. So that's London, that's New York over there, that's Portugal. You can actually see that. That's Lisbon. So New York is not the capital of the US officially, but everybody knows it's the financial capital, the center, the capital of the world. So in terms of finances and cash flow, it's finances. So it's the capital. And I rest my case. So next tip for investing. I should have written these tips down, so I'm just trying to remember a couple of them. But one really good tip for investing is do not be lazy. And once again, not a rule, a good tip, which is that if you try to make your investments passive, like fully passive, you will probably not realize cash flow that you should be getting. And not only that, when you try to fully delegate your investments, the person that's going to be relatively responsible for your investments is going to probably do those investments in a way that benefits them and not really necessarily benefits you the most. Now, it doesn't mean it's not going to benefit you. It just means that the main priority is your the person you delegated the investment to, and the second priority is you. And so it's not good to have your money seeing you as the second priority. It's quite dangerous, actually. And so to give you a specific example, let's say you want to invest in real estate and you just blindly trust the real estate agent that's showing you listings because he's your mother's friend. That's a big red flag, because his interests, although somewhat aligned to yours, are not fully aligned to yours. And if you just trust people, they're going to do the right thing, you may not have lived enough time in the world. Most people are good, but that doesn't mean good people will not do things that benefit them when they don't feel guilty about not fully benefiting you as much as they could. Because a good person is not necessarily the person that will burn themselves to make you a little bit more money. The good person is the person that's gonna make themselves more money and make sure you also get money. So it's not optimal. It might be okay. Okay is not the way to get rich. It's very effective. It's the way to get rich. And to make very effective investments, you gotta make sure you do your own due diligence on whatever investment you are making. It also means that sometimes you gotta go to the harder route instead of trying to just solve problems that are solved with effort with money. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you bought a building on some other country or some other city, and now the building has an issue, a tenant issue. And what are you going to do? You can either call your real estate company and say, you guys got me into this deal, and so you now should solve it. That's one way of doing it. Or you can just pack your bags, go on a flight, and solve the fucking issue. And now, funny thing, older people, and usually younger people, most people, pretty much, always try to delegate stuff that's complicated and hard and uncomfortable to someone else. You know what happens? People that solve complex problems get paid. And so if this person is going to have to solve a complex problem without getting paid because you have all the upside on the deal, they're just going to go there, do a shit work, and you got to do it yourself. And the same goes with the person that has a way to get the upside. If they do the work, they're gonna go there and they're gonna do the work, and they're gonna keep the upside of doing the work. They're gonna fix your roof, and then they're gonna present you a big ass bill because you did not want to go find good contractors and manage the fixture yourself. And now, why am I saying all this? Because that's why I say that it's so important to have at least $100,000 when you want to start investing, because issues do come up. Whatever random issues do come up, you're gonna have situations to solve. And if you're playing with small money, you're wasting big time solving little issues. And now you're gonna give me the counter argument, which I love, which is, oh, I do passive investing. I am a proper investor. I am very smart. I buy index funds. I am very, very, very smart. You know, especially here in Europe right now, everybody's very smart. I do passive investing. I don't even need to look at the internet. And that's all good. That's beautiful until you start noticing that, well, my positions are down. My positions are more down. My positions are triple down. And then you start getting worried. And then you go to work, and instead of showing your boss that you are really ready to take things to the next level and get a promotion, you are looking at the ceiling when your boss passes by you, because you are scared to this, am I gonna lose all the freaking money I have when I don't have any money? That's a terrible way of making decisions. That's a terrible way of spending the time you're getting paid for to work in your office. And so that's the reason why I say you should not be investing when you have less than $100,000, because when your money is somewhere, you will pay attention to that somewhere. Where your money is, your attention also goes. And if your money is rolling up and down like volatility, like a rocket ship, then you are probably gonna have part of your brain, at least a little part of your brain, going up and down like a rocket ship. Now, this is not necessarily me saying that you should not buy assets with your money when you have $100,000. It just means you should buy the most stable possible assets you can and not try to invest. So, for example, if you ask me, should I trade all my money for gold? Like, do you actually believe, honestly, that the base value, the base currency for the world is gold? If the answer is yes, then you probably should buy gold. Because if you buy gold and you believe gold is really the base currency of the universe and everything that is in it, then when you buy gold, you really are not investing, you are just holding currency. And if you believe that currency is more stable and has a higher likelihood of being here in the next 50, 100 years than the current currencies you are holding, then it makes a lot of sense to hold those currencies. But if you're trying to hold another currency because you think it will appreciate, then congrats, you're just being played. It's a bad idea to try to speculate on currencies, especially when there are hedge funds with literally billions spent a year in R&D in trying to understand what's going to happen to the currency markets and the coins around the world, and they have really, at the end of the day, very little, if any, idea of what's going to happen. So you, in your little computer, are not going to understand what's going to happen in order to get the returns on the next big currency that goes up, whether it's the yen or the euro or the dollar or whatever the hell it is. All right, and so those are my first tips. Now let's see if I can come up with a couple more tips, because this episode has to have at least 40 minutes to an hour if I am to actually improve my English, which is, once again, one of the points of this podcast, and hopefully it will not destroy the quality of the podcast. So I'm going to try my best to still deliver quality content that will improve the quality of your investment. And I'm gonna go here to my magical sheet of good advice, which I usually use for business, but I'm gonna use in this time for investing. And so another tip for investing that's really good is to understand everything is negotiable. And so when people are buying real estate, they usually feel like it's very negotiable. You know, everybody negotiates real estate, and even the prices of real estate really have baked in the space for the discount, so that whenever a buyer is gonna make an offer, the seller has already put the asking price $6,000 above the real price they believe the asset is worth, so that when the other guy comes to make an offer, they're like, oh, you've got us, what a great negotiator, we'll drop it down $6,000. And so, for that reason, I am a big believer that you should always try to negotiate things as down as possible. And if you are going to deal with that party later on, if that's a useful party where that can have a synergy with you and be a partner in your business, I'm not talking about suppliers, I'm not talking about investment. If you believe you're going to do future deals with that group, with that company, with whomever is selling you the asset you're going to buy for that investment, then it's important to get the best deal possible by the lowest price possible, keeping the other party happy. And this is a really important point. It's actually a really golden point that it took me a couple of years to understand, because when I started my career, I was one of the guys, and I still am to a degree, but not as much. I used to be really ruthless with my vendors, and I would go to there and I'd be like, well, so how much is it? It's $50 a month. And I'm like, okay, and that's a bit out of my range. What's the best you could do? It's like, we don't really do discount. And I'm like, okay, but for me to advance, I really need just a little bit lower. What's the lowest you can do? They're like, bro, 47. And I'm like, can we do 44? And they're like, no, 47. I'm like, dude, come on, 44, please, 44. They're like, no, it's 47. I'm like, what would it take to do 44? And they're like, nothing. It's like, it's 47. I'm like, okay. So if I do 47 and I pay 11 months up front, do you let me keep 1 month? They're like, well, fuck dude, I'll give you the 44. Just sign here. And I'm like, okay. And then like what ends up happening in those scenarios when you just really push down the guy, if it's someone that you're gonna have a recurring relationship with, even though you are paying less, you are probably now the guy that's on the bottom of their client list or their priority list. And so when that happens, you're gonna be the one that, well, gets the leftovers. And that's not good, because you are paying 90% of the price usually, or 80% or 70%, whatever the price for it. If it's lower, then you're gonna even be treated worse. So if you're paying 80% of the price and you're getting half the attention the other guys are getting, you actually did not do a good deal. You actually did kind of a shitty deal. And that's something it took me a while to realize, that if you really negotiate everyone down to as low as they can, because negotiating is really a bit of a sport. It's really, I mean, there's people that really literally say they're negotiating for sport. Like, when you are a good negotiator and you are good doing negotiation, when people leave the room, they're like, I should not have done that deal. And then the deal is already done. And like, they have to go back on their word, which really sucks. And especially if you're dealing with professional business people, they don't want, and they rarely do go back on their word, and so they many times prefer to suck it up and not do business again with you, which is worse, or they will go back on their word, which is not cool, and whatever option happens here, it's not really good for you. But if you are not dealing with this party in the future, if this is just a real estate transaction from some dude that is in a foreign country or came from a foreign country and you'll never deal with them again, then let's be quite honest, just get the best deal possible. Whatever repercussions happen will probably not be happening to you. So it's not your fault. The world is tough. Deal with it. Well, that's my point here. It's what a nice point. I was saying 2 minutes ago that people are usually nice and people are good. Now I'm saying this, so people are still good. They're just ruthless when the opportunity is presented. That's a fact. But when it comes to negotiating, that's pretty much what I was saying, that when you negotiate as long as possible with a party that you're going to keep doing business with, but you still leave enough on the table for them to be happy about the deal, then you're going to have a really happy vendor along the way that's going to keep giving you more value in that relationship than you would have gotten if you took as much as possible from the table. So that's one of my other investment tips. Now, another investment tip I'll give you in terms of investing really is doing the best, like try to be the most informed guy about that opportunity, about the deal, about the people that are interested in that deal. Try to really understand, and this is pretty obvious. The way I say it sounds pretty obvious. I mean, just try to be the guy that understands it better. I mean, it's obvious, but it is not obvious because there's only one guy that understands this opportunity better than all the others. And so you gotta understand, you gotta think in a frame of mind that's not, I'm just gonna understand this opportunity. You gotta think in a frame of mind, or how can I be the best prepared guy in the room? And I'll give you an example, which is kind of weird, but maybe I hope the point comes across, which is that a couple of years ago I was actually, this might be weird, maybe I'm just a scammer and so this is not true, but a couple of years ago I was actually a deadlift champion in Portugal. So I had the record for I won the championship for the deadlift, which is an exercise. You probably know what a deadlift is. And so, assuming what I'm saying is true, because if I don't put it on the wall, apparently it's not true. When I did that, the championship I was at was at the peak of my performance. And so when I was going to hold the bar, to lift the bar and to do the deadlift that won me the championship, what I felt was really like time almost slowed down. I understood almost perfectly the mechanics of what was around me, and I fully understood what I was doing, like to the highest level. I absolutely understood what I was doing at that point, and nobody around me could have beaten me on that competition because I was on my full understanding of the sport, of how I had to lift the bar, of my current potential, how much I could do, how fast and how to actually perform the exercise. And so when you are on your peak performance, it's really hard for people to beat you, because you basically see how all the pieces in the puzzle fit together. And I'm saying this because it has actually happened to me in some other instances before. For example, card games, like very complicated card games, like you can actually, if you really practice, you can start seeing the plays. Or even, I can even give you a better example, which is checkers. I actually am, at least in the app I play on, I'm actually, I think it's a champion. Yeah, it's the rank above Grandmaster, at least in the checkers app, which is the most downloaded checkers app on the App Store, the Play Store. So the reason I became a checkers grandmaster was because I spent so much time understanding the game, actually playing the game, that when now I play against somebody or a robot or whatever, I can pretty much predict everything that's going to happen, and I fully understand the mechanics of the game, and so it's really hard to beat me. And so when I say really understand the game above anybody else that you're competing with, I'm not saying just do your homework and things will hopefully be fine. No, I mean like understand this to a degree where there's really little mistake you could do. Because if you just depend on the opinions of others and you don't actually have your own thesis on why this is very likely to work out, then if things don't work out, or if things are going south even though you thought they should be going north, you're going to start to question your decision, because you did not actually know what went into your decision. You just copied some other guy, and that's actually the reason why I started this video by saying this is actually what I did with 100,000 2 months ago, and this is actually what you should do instead of just replicating me. I'm not saying you should not replicate me, of course you should, because I'm the best investor in Europe, obviously, but and once again that's actually a fact. But if I was not, you should not just do what I did. You should actually understand what I did or what I'm trying to convey here, so that you can do investments that are equally or even better than that one. And so let's go to our next rule. So I'm gonna go here to the magic list of magical business and investing rules. And another wonderful tip, I mean actually this list is very, very nice. One day I'll probably write a book and include all of these tips in there, but I'm picking the best ones for investing. And so a really great tip is that times usually look worse than they are. And for I mean, good times are usually seem to be going to last longer than they are, and bad times always seem to look like they're gonna last longer than they are. And so it's important to understand that nothing is ever as good or bad as it looks like in the moment. And this is a really, really important investing tip, because for example, right now when I'm recording this video, we are in the middle, at least it's what said on TV, and I don't really watch TV, but everybody's saying we are in the middle of the Eurozone crisis, there's a war, there's such, it's the freaking end of the world. And right now I'm buying, like, this month is actually has actually been the month I've made more money, at least in terms of net worth appreciation, in my career. And that's actually really shocking, because I thought this was going to be a shitty month, because last month was actually one of my best months ever, and the month before that one was actually one of my best month ever, if not my best month ever. And so I'm having like record month after record month. And in terms of investing, you've seen the numbers here. Like if you go search Chevron 2 months ago, and right now, like I'm recording this on the 22nd or 23rd of October. So if you just search the graph, you're going to see a very, very happy spike. And so like my investments are really, really doing good. And that's the reason, I mean, the reason why that is because right now, when everybody's scared and they're sitting on the sidelines and waiting for things to calm down and for whatever, I'm like, all right, so it's a bad time. You know what? Bad times usually don't last. It's time to put the chips on the table. And maybe I'm wrong, but usually I've been right. And it's the same when 2 years ago everybody was investing on the index funds, because we're gonna get rich investing in index funds, and then the index funds went down, and now people are selling their index funds because, oh, I thought it was gonna be good forever. And so usually bad times seem to last longer than they actually do, seem to be going to last longer than they actually do, and good times it's the same thing. So good and bad times usually look better or worse than they are at the moment. Good times usually look better than they are in the moment. Bad times usually look worse than they are in the moment. Everything is temporary. Everything, this one too shall pass. And whatever opportunities that brought, there shall pass. They too shall pass. And so you should really take advantage of the opportunities while they're there at it. while they're there. That does not mean you should do FOMO, and that's actually another tip. It's not here, but it's an obvious one, which is you should not. This is actually one of my best tips. I think this can actually qualify as a golden rule. I've been saying this for several years. I'm not sure I actually ever heard anybody say it, but I'm sure a lot of people think it, which is that it is better to not make a good investment than to make a bad investment. And this is really on the core of my thesis as an investor. And so I understand that good times will not last forever. I understand that bad times will not last forever either, but I never do rash decisions just because I think they're gonna change. The tide's gonna change and I'm gonna miss out. I don't mind missing out. I just really don't want to get screwed on a bad investment, because the number one rule of investing, and once again, this is a golden rule, so apparently there's a lot of golden rules that I've written throughout this video. Another golden rule is that it is mandatory that you do not lose money on investments. Rule number one of investing by Warren Buffett is never lose money on investments. And rule number two of investing by Warren Buffett is never forget rule number one. So it is better to not do a good investment than to make a bad investment. And that leads me to my next point. Let me see which one it is. Another great rule of investing. This is actually amazing. This is actually one of my best rules and one of the rules that allowed me to live a really relaxed and really calm life, even though, and what some people call balanced, I don't like the term, but a really nice life, even though my income tends to fluctuate severely month to month, sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. Obviously, if there's an average, it means some months it's above, some months is under, and a lot of people can't really handle the pressure of that, but it doesn't really affect me, because one of my rules for investing, and this is one of the most important rules and why you need to have a significant amount of money before you start really investing, is that you do not want to spend the principal, you want to only spend the dividends, the interest. And so this will literally change your life if you understand it right. Like, the reason why wealthy people are wealthy is because they don't spend their active income, they spend their passive income. This is actually something I took from Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, and he's worth $200 million. So he knows something about money and about cash flow. And so once again, that's the reason, this is the main reason I was saying that if it doesn't cash flow, you say no. It's because if it doesn't cash flow and you buy it and you can't spend the principal, then you're screwed because you spent $1 million and the thing doesn't produce anything. And now it's worth 900,000 and it's still not producing anything. At what point you're going to stop the madness? It is better to not enroll in madness at all than to try to stop the madness midway. And so, when you understand this, and you make a decision that whatever you make in your job, or 50% or 80% or whatever percent you can make, whatever percentage you can save, you just save it and you do not touch it, and that becomes your investment principle. And until you have $100,000, you will not touch it. Then once you have those $100,000, you can just invest it in something that has a good dividend, whichever thing it is, real estate, oil, actual dividend companies, whatever. And oil, I mean oil producing companies, or like assets that produce something. You can buy a farm, you can buy whatever, you can buy a business, you can buy a website that makes money, whatever you want to buy, as long as it produces cash flow. So in the moment that you spend $100,000 or 200 or whatever, and you start getting that passive flow of income, you have now become financially independent, or more financially independent than you were before. I don't really like the concept of FIRE and early retiring and stuff. I find that really depressing, because it's like, oh, so the goal of working is not to work. Doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I like working. I think working is the best. I think work is a blessing. I think the reason why we live, or the reason why we enjoy life, and what makes us enjoy life the most, is actually working. It's just not working in the sense that most people see working, which is that you go to an office you don't like with a boss you hate and you do something you don't want to do. That's not working, that's suffering. Working is actually having a beautiful canvas behind you, empty, and you just brush your colors throughout it and you get more points while doing it. That's the same as any other game, you know. I mean, life is just a game. So that's my point being. And so once you start building passive income, the game opens up more opportunities. You can just do more stuff. I mean, if you have $100 a month, you can't really do much. If you have 1,000, you will start being able to at least live like a small life. When you have 10,000, which I don't, by the way, just to be clear here. If I have 10,000, I believe with $10,000 in passive recurring dividend income in a month, I believe you will be very capable of thinking long term in what change you actually want to bring into the people around you, and maybe not at that level yet, but eventually in the world. And that's really cool, because you go from a place of I'm this small person and I can barely make ends meet to I can only take care of myself to I can actually take care of the people around me to I can actually take care of the planet now. I mean, in a very small way, of course. Nobody has enough money to actually really change the world in a significant way, except maybe for Elon and Bezos, and maybe even not those two. But this point being that if you keep leveling up your principal, your dividends will also increase, and you do not need to touch the principal to improve your life. You just need to add more to it and just keep living off the distributions, and you'll get to a point where you can actually invest a part of the distributions. I can actually share this, not a secret. Actually, half of my distributions, I like I actually only live on my passive income, so that's actually a cool thing to share. If you don't know it, you probably don't, because I don't really have a lot of stuff out there. For the 4 people still watching this video, that's actually the way I play the game, and that's actually the way I invest. I actually only take money out of my passive income, and I also have my company has a structure where I actually get some compensation when I hit certain targets, and so I get some money from there for my personal money, but it's a relatively small amount of money. Most of my money actually comes from dividend investing from positions that I have like this. I have also some major positions on the private bank. It's a Portuguese private bank. That's something I don't really want to go into right now because it's not relevant to this conversation. It's not a secret, but it's not really relevant to this conversation, and it's kind of private. You don't really need to know how much money I have, and so this to say that once you have more passive income, you can do really cool stuff, and I'm getting to a point where I can actually do really cool stuff, and I never touch the principal, and that's what you should not do as well. If you don't touch your principal, you can just grow it. If you don't touch it, it can only go up, and if it keeps going up, eventually you'll get to a really, really nice place, assuming you keep adding to it, which you have to, because it is your obligation to get rich as fuck. That's the goal in life. I just said this on camera. Very cool, very nice. Hopefully none of my clients are watching this, and if you are, well, at least you're learning some good tips. I mean, even though you gotta admit, even though some of my ways of explaining and my videographer, video skills, narrator skills, whatever how I'm saying here, are not wonderful, my investment thesis is sound and it's proven to work, and also my rules and golden rules and stuff are actually pretty decent. So whatever way you want to judge me, just keep in mind that it does work. There's a method to the madness, and also it's like 2 a.m. and I'm still in my little office here in Lagoas Park in Oeiras, the greatest city in the world. So yeah, I mean, give me some slack. And so let's move forward to my next tip, which is, let me see, I'm actually running out of tips, but I say that this would be 40 minutes to, it's actually already 40 minutes, but I think I can give some more tips. So I'm gonna actually give you a good one. This is actually a really, really good one, which is that ask and you shall receive. I've been saying this for years. This applies to everything in life, but really applies to investing. Ask and you shall receive. When you are negotiating whatever investment you're negotiating, if you're trying to buy a painting, if you're trying to buy a farm, if you're trying to buy a building, if you're trying to buy whatever is viable, many times the way to do a good deal is to ask and you shall receive. Now, people sometimes misunderstand ask and you shall receive by ask for the end goal and you shall receive it. That's not how it works. I cannot just go to London and ask for them to give me that building and they give me that building. Okay, it's not that simple. When I say ask and you shall receive, I mean ask the guy that built that how he built it, and the guy will tell you. And then if you apply what I told you and you also go learn from yourself how to build something like that, and you ask the guy how he put together enough capital to build something like that, and you go replicate it, maybe, just maybe, you can actually do it. But when I say ask and you shall receive, I mean ask for stuff that's slightly beyond what you have or what you know, but not completely ridiculous, and you might receive it. But if you don't ask, you will not receive it. If you want the contact of your ideal customer and you don't ask somebody that knows him, you will not receive it. If you want a discount on the property but you don't ask for it, you shall not receive it. If you want the guy to also sell you the painting that he said he was not going to sell, but you don't ask, you shall not receive it. And I believe my point has come across. So in other words, if you don't ask, you will not receive it. And so ask and you shall receive it. That's one of my favorite points. And it's so simple that people don't actually believe it works. I am living proof it works. If there's one thing I've been doing all these years, all my life, is asking, and I've been receiving. And that's how you build a nice business. So next tip, let's see, more investment tips. I'm gonna give you a couple more, one or two ones, and then we're gonna be done, because at this point I'm not sure I'm adding value or I'm just speaking with myself, which is fine either way. I mean, if I'm not adding value to you, at least I'm adding value to me in terms of electricity bills, because the camera has been on for an hour. So next one, let's see if I can give you a really good one. I mean, I'm actually gonna give you a really good one that also applies in business, because obviously this list is something, most of my principles are more aligned for business than for actually investing, but this is a really good one, and it also applies strongly in investing, because in investment you can try to underreport your earnings in the stock market, you can try to illegally collect the rents from your properties, you can try to sell your paintings in the black market, and to be quite honest, something that I heard a couple of years ago, and it's something I've been practicing, and it's the reason why I've never been fined, I've never been screwed by any government entity or anybody, is because I know that the best shortcut is doing the things right the first time. And so I'm going to give you a quick story to illustrate this, which is that a couple months ago I had an employee that was a communist, unhappy communist, that tried to make a complaint about our company in the labor department. In Portugal we have something that's pretty much translated to as the labor department, because they're all communists here. And so the labor department came here and they make a list of allegations. And I had a lot of documents here in the office that showed their allocations were incorrect. The reason I had those allegations, the reason I had those documents, is because I tried to always do the things right the first time. And so I made sure we have contracts, we have documents signed, we have proof that whatever I'm saying is actually real. And that came to save my ass, because they really tried, because the freaking commies always side with disgruntled employees and always try to screw you, but they had no legal grounds for it. And so I was actually able to beat the case, which is very rare. I'm not sure, I don't even know anybody that was able to beat the case against the labor department. So take that one, labor department. You cannot touch me. And I'm not sure I should put that on camera, but I said I was not going to be cutting any stuff here, so I'm not going to cut it. And if you guys don't like me, well, I'll take my business to somewhere that does like me, like the United States of America. So don't threaten me again. And that's pretty much it. So if you don't paint on the sidelines, and more importantly, if you don't play it outside the lines, which is really where the line is crossed, obviously, then you might find that you are actually going faster than the people that are trying to take shortcuts. And so that's a really good tip. It's not something that will help you choose investments, but it's something that will help you manage your investments and understand that even though your returns might be slightly lower in the short term, they will probably be more safe and more stable in the long run if you don't try to do smart stuff. And when I say smart, I mean criminal stuff. Don't do criminal stuff. bad idea. So next one is well, I'm sure I'll find some more snow, or if I don't, we'll end it by here. But I actually think we can find more. So I think we'll find some other more. Well, there's another good investment tip. It's actually a very uncommon one, but it's something I've written down because it actually, well, it was something I came to this conclusion by myself, and so I'm gonna share it with you. I think this one's gonna be quite helpful to you, actually, because oftentimes when we are doing an investment, we are in a relationship with a professional for that specific field of investing as well. And so when you're trying to invest in stocks and bonds and whatever, usually I have either a private banker or a financial advisor or whatever, and their interests, although kind of aligned with yours, are not fully aligned with yours. The same goes with a real estate agent, a really nice, really sweet real estate agent whose interests are actually more aligned with closing the deal than serving you the best possible deal. And so when you get into a relationship with somebody that's really well built and strong and nice, and you don't want to say no to that person, you've just made a really shitty mistake that you have to face and actually solve, which is that when you're in business, you gotta remember, you are in the business of making money, not subsidizing people because you like them. And so, even though you like the guy, if you would not do the deal if the guy was not there, then you cannot do the deal even if the guy is there. You understand me? Like, if you would not pay a higher commission if Johnny was not working at the bank, then you shall not pay a higher commission if Johnny is paying at the bank. Now, this is not to say that you should always take the cheaper route, because if Johnny works at the bank and John told you he's going to secure a line of credit for you if you do the investment with him, although it's going to cost you slightly more, then that's a good decision, likely. But if Johnny, when asked why should I choose you, says because I'm your buddy, you should say you're my buddy. But buddies don't make money. Investments with positive cash flow make money. So I'm not gonna put my money with my buddy. I'm gonna put my money with investments that produce positive cash flow. And so that's really the way. But it is actually a tough one, and it's people with, and that's why I titled this video how to invest $100,000, because hopefully the people watching this are actual people that have over $100,000, because if you don't, you might not be at the point in your career where this piece of advice actually makes sense to you. But after you've done some investments and you've done some bigger deals, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about, which is that people develop a relationship with you, and part of their business is actually developing a relationship with you. But when they're genuine, it's really tough to tell them, sorry mate, it's not the best investment possible. And that's something I actually today, a couple hours ago, I actually went on a call with a friend of mine, and he was basically helping me out with a possible investment, buying a property in the US. And I'm not sure I should be sharing this, but I said I would not be doing it, so well, now you know. I mean, you're gonna steal my property overseas. Good for you. But this to say, so I was speaking with him, and this was actually one of the first things, because I'm really big on setting expectations, and that's the way to counter all this stuff is really to set the stage on the beginning, to set expectations, so that it doesn't feel like an obligation moving forward. So I was on the call and I told him, like, I hope I do this, I might not do this, this and this has to align for me to do this. It's not emotional, it's rational. If I find a better rate of return for my cash on somewhere else. I'll park this money that I have sitting here somewhere else. And so after saying that, obviously it's not a really nice thing to say, and usually when we're trying to have a professional to aid us on investments and stuff, we're like trying to be as nice as possible to him as well, so that he can get us better terms. But real professionals know that this is how the game works, and so when you're straightforward with them, they'll appreciate it. And if you do backtrack and retract your offer, retract the deal, whatever, they're gonna be okay with it, and they're gonna still be the person on your side moving forward. And that's not gonna happen if you just at the end of the day just kind of screw them over, even if screwing them over is the only logical way to protect your money, which is a tough spot to be. And that's why I'm saying set expectations early, and that way you might not have an actual problem with this one, which is that you are not in the business of subsidizing people, you are in the business of making money. And let's see if I can find one last tip, and then we'll be done. So actually gonna give you this one, and then I'll try to give you a really good one afterwards, but this one is a good one. This actually comes from the science world, but I like it, and I think it applies very well to the investment world, which is that which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. And so when people tell you Bitcoin is gonna go up, and you tell them why, and they tell you, well, everybody knows it's gonna go up, obviously it's gonna go up. Well, these people have presented no evidence to support their case, and what can be presented without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. And so if somebody is trying to assert that whatever investment thesis is a good investment thesis, but they really provide you no evidence for that, which is actually surprisingly common, then you gotta tell them, sorry buddy, I do not understand what you're telling me. I'm too stupid for our investment. That's actually the way I usually understand I reply to the magical internet money people. When magical internet money people come to me, I'm usually like, oh bro, I'm sorry, that's too complicated for me, I'm too stupid. And they're like, oh, I'm so smart, I got $5,000 and I got the Dogecoin and the Smart Coin and the Walkie-Talkie coin and oh no, it is going down. It is the banks, it is the big funds, everybody is on it, it's a big conspiracy. Like, I'm sorry buddy, it's not a conspiracy. Nobody actually cares about you or your investments. You basically do not exist in the financial system. You just made a bad decision. I gotta deal with it. Oh, this one was tough. I mean, hopefully I did not offend the last two people that were watching the video. If I did, I am sorry. But I'm still right. And you guys are smart, or else you wouldn't be watching this video. So if you're smart and I'm right, I know you will eventually come to agree with me. So that's okay. And let's see if I can give you a good really final one. Let's see, I want to really give a great final tip, even maybe a golden rule, if I can find one in my beautiful list. Actually, I think I have. Well, it is not a golden rule, but it's a really good one, and I'm gonna give you, after I give just a really quick one, so that I build some anticipation for it, which is that this is a quick one, so this is not a golden rule, nothing like that. This is not really even a rule, it's just a small tip, which is that you should not confuse effort with results. And so when you're doing diligence and you're walking properties and you're watching or seeing houses on Zillow or Idealista if you're in Portugal, or whatever, Redfin, whatever websites your country uses, rightmove.co.uk, whatever, when you're watching properties to invest in, when you're watching stocks to buy, when you are spending a lot of time trying to look at art and thinking, art is a very smart idea, it doesn't produce cash flow, but maybe I'll get rich of it. When you do that kind of sort of thing, maybe, just maybe, you have not been able to differentiate, and you still move forward. That's the point here. If you still do that stuff, do a lot of work, your thesis is not verified, and you still move forward, then you've just made the mistake of confusing effort with results. If you do your due diligence and the numbers don't check out, even if you spent 20 hours looking at this goddamn deal, you gotta let it go. And that's also, once again, why I recommend you not investing if you don't have $100,000. Because if you don't have $100,000, you're gonna have $2,000 to invest in magical internet money or whatever. I mean, like, just to stop the internet magical money jokes for a second. Let's say you want to buy an investment property, and it actually makes a lot of sense. Actually, you cannot buy an investment property with $2,000. Maybe a stock. Let's say you find you're in a very specific country, a really terrible communist country, Portugal, for example. Just kidding. Portugal is nice. The communist part is real, but the other part is not. And so, let's say you are in a country like that, and you want to invest, and you find a really good company that is really undervalued compared to the other companies on the big stock exchanges, because it's in a very niche market, and your thesis makes a lot of sense. And so you have $2,000 and you're gonna make your due diligence, and you spend 20 hours making your due diligence, and after you do that, the numbers don't actually check out like you thought in the beginning they would, and now you gotta swallow your pride and let it go. And that's really hard when you spend a lot of resources and time and money on that, because, well, I just wasted all this time and I didn't even get the $2,000 to work. And many people they instead of actually doing research, the more time they spend doing that so-called research, they're actually just looking for confirmation bias. And so they're like, more confirmation, and they just do it regardless of the actual thesis being verified or not, which is funny because it goes against the whole point. Like, you might as well not just do any due diligence and not have put in any effort if at the end of the day you're gonna invest in the company you put effort in the due diligence. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so my point here being, don't confuse effort with result. This applies this applies mainly in business, and it applies a lot in life as well, but in terms of investment is a really important point, because bad decisions in investing can be really costly. And as I said before, golden rule here, it is better to not make a good investment than to make a bad one. And so if you were not able to verify your thesis, then I'm sorry, it might not be a good idea to open a big position. And just a quick tip, not the tip I'm gonna leave you at the ending with, but a really important tip as well, is, at least it's been important in my life, and it's been something that serves me really well, better even than I imagined initially, is that I usually open big positions. And some people are against that. Like, if it's not a six-figure position, honestly, I'm not really interested. Like, if you're gonna open small positions, you're gonna drain your attention, and you're not gonna pick the absolute best ones, because the absolute best ones are not a dime a dozen. There's not a billion of them. And so if you have investments in 500 companies or 5,000 companies, chances are you have no idea what each one is doing, and chances are you're gonna get average returns, because that's an average strategy, and average does not make you rich, it makes you average. Extraordinary people don't get average results. Extraordinary people don't do average things. And so if you want to be average, that's fine. But if you're going to be average, might as well not even work. Just go to the beach, buy a shitty rental property, and you live on the beach off the passive income. That's a goal. I just gave a great idea to the freeloaders out here just trying to make a quick comeback. It's better than Bitcoin, that's for sure. And so that's the almost the last tip, and now the last tip is actually very interconnected with this one, and it's a really important tip. It's not a golden rule, but it's a really important tip that I took from Ray Dalio, which is that maturity is the ability to reject good alternatives in order to pursue even better ones. It's a bit different than what I was saying here on the previous point, but it really means that sometimes, even if the investment makes sense, you should walk away from it. Let me say this another way. Let's say you currently have $100,000 sitting in a bank account, and you get the possibility to invest in a construction project with a friend of yours. This is a really experienced guy. He's built 10 skyscrapers in different cities. He's done it all successfully, you actually know him and know him very well and know his numbers are real, and he comes to you with a proposition to build a smaller building, which he can totally do and has a proven track record that can easily do, and that building is going to yield you guys 8% a year, and it's going to take 10 years to build and commercialize. You probably should say no to that deal if you believe in your ability to multiply that money more efficiently. Now, it's really tough to do that, but that's really a sign of maturity in your life, really, which is that when you actually believe in your ability and you understand well enough the ramifications of what will happen in, for example, in this case, a longer lock-in term, then you understand you might miss out on much juicier opportunities because of it. And I'll give you an example of someone that did this to the absolute extreme and it's very successful because of it. There's a man that I've referred multiple times here, the freaking legend, the reason why all of us still talk about investing, the man that has proved the naysayers wrong and the haters incorrect every time, Mr. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is actually one of the few people that has a gigantic, one of the few investors that has a gigantic portion amount of the assets of his fund in cash. And Berkshire has a lot of cash because he understands that even though he could buy whatever, treasury bill or treasury bills, they can't buy just really short-term ones, but even though they could be buying whatever produces some cash flow in the short term, like Procter & Gamble stock or just really safe investments, whatever, they choose not to do it because they understand that if there's a down market, if there is a correction, the upside they're gonna get because they have that money sitting is much larger than whatever return they would be getting if they were just trying to invest with the best it is available right now. Because investing is not like going shopping, and this is really important point. It's actually something really not spoken about a lot, and it's a really important point to drive home, which is that investing is not going shopping. When you go shopping and you need a toothbrush, you're gonna buy the toothbrush that you find with the best price quality relationship. Now, investing is not the same. In investing, when you have $100,000 available, you should not buy the investment with the best risk return ratio available. And now I'm gonna sip my water while I leave you confused with that answer, and I'll explain it why that is. So, why should you not be looking for the best risk return ratio possible investment, or why should you possibly not make it if you find it? Very simple. Because the current best opportunity for your money is probably not the same it will be in 1 day, in 1 month, in 1 year. And so it's not only about understanding what is the best investment available right now, it's about understanding what will the market bring within a certain time frame, and what will your decisions in your life bring within the next several months and years, so that you can make an intelligent decision with the resources you have now, even though you could apply them right now. And that's not to say, by the way, that you should really just think long term and not invest. No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, if you can open a liquid position, then it makes a lot of sense for you to just do the investment now. But that's really what I'm saying. It's like, you don't want to lock in your money. The first example I gave you was the guy that has an attractive investment proposition, and so he locks in his money for 10 years. And now let's say this guy did this in 2006 and everything was going fine. Now 2008 happened, and maybe he's not upside down, maybe he actually still got his 8% return. Well, if the dude landed $1 million for the construction project, and instead of being the construction project it was on his bank account, well, he could make a lot more money than 8% a year. But that's hindsight, and hindsight is 20/20, as it said, and so that's not something you can predict. However, you can predict that liquidity is always good, because there are frequently market crashes. Every year, every decade, there's been about one. So if you intend to live more than a decade, it makes sense to have money set aside for a downturn. It's funny I'm saying this because that's actually exactly what I did. So a couple months ago, I actually had most of my money in like very, very short-term safe bonds, and everybody was buying really, well, I believe it's unsafe, but this is arguable, but most people were buying index funds and putting their money mostly exposed to stocks, and stocks they did not understand at all. Equities, pretty much. They were buying equities and whatever was cool at the moment, and magical internet money and stuff. And I was the wealthiest dude here in my office and in my little group of people that I know. Not actually the people group that I know. That's completely wrong. I have a lot of friends with a lot more money than me, which is very cool. But in my within all the people of my age that I know, I am the wealthiest one, and I was actually the one doing the most conservative investment. And the reason for that is that I understood, like, there is usually a recession every so often, and usually when everybody thinks things are good, they're not gonna last as good times for that long. And the same thing as I said for bad times. Like, usually things look better. Good things usually look better than the good times usually look better than they are, and bad times are usually look worse than they are. Good times, bad times don't last forever. It's important to keep a note on that, and so you are able to make decisions in trade-offs in order to maximize your gains. And so this to say this is something that I quoted from Ray Dalio, so I'm pretty sure it's a good piece of advice, or else he wouldn't be one of the richest people in the world. It's really just that maturity really means that you are able to walk away from good propositions because you believe, and according to game theory and to whatever statistic you play by, or whatever you feel in your heart, that you're gonna get a better deal if you just play your cards in a different way. And so it is sacrificing the good for the great, and that's a lesson that applies in business, in life, and in investing. Sacrifice the good for the great, and instead of having average returns, you have extraordinary returns. Or at least you're gonna have your money at the end of the day, when the crazy people that buy magical internet money don't. And that's really my 2 cents. So really, investing really comes down to the very simple golden rule, which is that do not lose money. And whatever you gotta do to achieve this goal, it is fair play. I've given you a couple rules that honestly I've been following for several years, and this actually was a much longer video than I expected, but I believe and I hope it was useful. I know this is really the kind of episode that you just put on 2x speed, especially because I speak so slowly, and you just listen to it. But I want to thank you for accompanying me till the end. If you've been watching this channel for longer, I want to thank you also for sticking here with me. I know this is a really weird episode because this is the first long form episode I did in English, and so my English is still a bit rusty. Hopefully over the next few episodes I'll be able to speak more fluently and not like a robot. But assuming that it's the case, I am excited and look forward to doing more videos and sharing more information with you. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave in the comments what topics you'd like me to cover next. I am very happy to be here back again at YouTube, and I hope I do some useful videos. And once again, there's nothing paid here, so just drop a like if you liked it, and that's all I ask. Thank you so much. Have a great week.